All right, so let's start this broadcast with some breaking inputs that have just come in, where apart from the ongoing air war with the state of Israel, a 5.2 degree earthquake has rattled the northern part of Iran. The Iranian media has said that the quake measured 5.2 on the Richter scale and its epicenter was about 10 kilometers deep. It was about 37 kilometers southwest of the city of Semnan. The tremors were also felt in the capital city of Tehran, about 150 kilometers from the city of Semnan. So this is the latest bit of information that is coming in. Besides the hot war that Iran at this moment is involved in with the state of Israel, there's also been yet another earthquake that has been reported in Iran. It reportedly measured about 5.2 on the Richter scale and it has rattled northern Iran. The Iranian media has said that the epicenter of this quake was about 10 kilometers under the ground and it was 37 kilometers southwest of the city of Semnan. The tremors were also experienced in the Iranian capital Tehran as well.
And as the Israel-Iran conflict escalates, loud explosions were heard near Iran's Fordo nuclear site as it came under Israeli fire. Well, just as Israeli strikes were reported at the nuclear facility, a magnitude 2.5 earthquake struck Iran's Qom province. Now, according to an initial earthquake report from Iran's National Seismological Center, the earthquake in Qom province had a depth of around 10 kilometers. Now, shortly after the earthquake in Qom, another earthquake of magnitude 4.3 struck Iran's Sistan and Balochistan province bordering Pakistan. The twin earthquakes triggered chatter and speculation on social media about whether Israeli strikes at Fordo had triggered the earthquake or Iran had carried out underground nuclear tests. In October last year, similar speculations had emerged after a 4.4 magnitude earthquake had hit the city of Aradan in Iran's Semnan province. Now, back then, the social media was abuzz with speculations over Iran conducting its first underground nuclear test, triggering seismic activity.
An earthquake with a 5.1 magnitude was felt in northern Iran, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. It was felt in the Qom region, home to Iran's Fordo nuclear enrichment facility. Israeli forces have largely not attacked the Fordo facility, though it has attacked several others. The Fordo facility is buried deep underneath the area's mountainous terrain. It's believed that Israel does not have the weapons to destroy Fordo and wants the United States to use the massive Ordnance Penetrator, a 30,000-pound bomb designed to hit underground structures. President Donald Trump said he would make the decision on whether to do that over the next 2 weeks.
You don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araki said, quote, "We have explicitly told the U.S. that as long as the aggression and attacks continue, there is simply no room for talk of dialogue or diplomacy."
The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency tells me in an exclusive interview, Iran does have enough uranium for several nuclear bombs, and the regime is just a quick step away from enriching to weapons-grade uranium. However, he said he saw no plans for Iran to take that step, and he believes even at this stage, diplomacy is the path to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon.
I believe that there is a way to take this danger or this concern out of the table in a negotiated way with a very robust, as I said, I've been in conversations, very good conversations with Steve Witkoff and with the Iranians as well. I believe that there are ways in which we can make sure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon.
Now, Israel reports every day their fighters and drones are taking out missile systems in Iran. Today, we have images of that. The IDF says strikes were carried out in the areas of Isfahan and Tehran, saying the equipment that you see in these images are both radar installations and missile systems intended to strike Israeli aircraft. For days now, Israel says that their fighters have enjoyed air superiority, meaning they can operate at will in the skies over Iran without the risk of being shot down. Carly and Todd?
Okay, Mike Tobin live for us in Tel Aviv. Mike, thank you. Let's bring in Benham Ben Taleblu, Iran Program Senior Director and Senior Fellow for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Benham, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. So yesterday we also learned that President Trump is going to make his final decision within 2 weeks on whether or not the U.S. will take military action against Iran. So how do you feel about that 2-week deadline?
Great to be with you and good morning. Listen, I think all eyes will be on President Trump and on the U.S. in these 2 weeks.
The Bushehr nuclear power plant is Iran's first commercial nuclear reactor and is a product of collaboration between Russia and Iran. Located near the city of Bushehr in southern Iran, the plant currently has one operational reactor with 2 more reactors planned for the future. Russia provides the nuclear fuel for the Bushehr plant. The growing concern over the Israel-Iran escalation has raised an important question as well. Will Moscow be dragged into the war in an effort to safeguard its people and interests in Iran?
Those remarks came as President Trump said he would allow 2 weeks for diplomacy before deciding whether to launch a U.S. strike in Iran. 1 week into the conflict, casualties continue to rise, as you'd imagine, on both sides.
An Iranian airstrike hit a hospital in southern Israel, injuring dozens yesterday, and a large number of Israelis were hurt in a missile attack on high-rise buildings outside Tel Aviv. The Iranians are threatening to take legal action against the UN's nuclear watchdog, calling the IAEA complicit in Israel's strikes on their facilities. The agency's chief strongly disagrees, saying he's found no evidence that Iran is close to acquiring a nuclear weapon.
One thing is to have the material to put in a warhead, and a very different one is to have everything else that, as you can imagine, goes inside a warhead to make it work. And we do not have any evidence that this is ongoing in Iran.
Amid the ongoing conflict in the region, both United and American Airlines say they've halted their regular flights to both Dubai and Doha for the next several days.
President Trump is waiting to make a final decision on whether to attack Iran. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt read a direct quote from the president this afternoon.
Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
Multiple sources tell CBS News the president believes disabling Fordow, Iran's most secure nuclear site, is necessary because of the risk of Iran producing nuclear weapons in a relatively short period of time.
Let's be very clear. Iran has all that it needs to achieve a nuclear weapon.
Israel has targeted Fordow, but doesn't have the heavy weaponry the U.S. could provide.
If you talk to Israelis on the street, they would really like to see the Americans come in. But if the Americans don't come in, I think there's confidence that Israel's going to be able to do some damage to that facility on its own.
In what may be an attempt to influence the president's thinking on the conflict, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered remarks in English Thursday saying he trusted President Trump's judgment on Iran.
How do you think that Iran feels about the lack of response from their terror proxies?
They feel alone and afraid, and if I had to, connect the dots, this is probably one reason why the Israelis witnessed and sensed that this is a sense of opportunity. The fact that Hezbollah and Hamas have been deracinated and neutered, the fact that the U.S. had been dealing with the Houthis, the fact that the Shia militias in Iraq were too afraid to fire, or whose firing was not necessarily impactful throughout the course of the wars of the post-October 7 Middle East, meant that the Islamic Republic lost one major leg of its conventional deterrent. Conversely, as you see with the missile strategy not performing as well either, the other leg of the regime's conventional deterrent had fallen in. And given the fact that the regime is weak at home, economically bankrupt, socially has little to no base at home, this is all why the Israelis sense that this was now or never.
I want to add something to all the ills that the current regime is undergoing right now. Despite talk of these ongoing negotiations, do we really believe that an 86-year-old religious zealot, quite frankly, to your point in that last answer, with absolutely nothing to lose, is really going to negotiate? That's my big concern here.
Well, the real art of the deal for the president is to make this 86-year-old zealot that you mentioned, which is the Middle East's longest-running contemporary dictator, to do exactly what his predecessor did, which he called drinking from the poison chalice, or settling for a suboptimal solution, forcing him to do what he doesn't want to do. But in the case that his ideology almost certainly overwhelms his pragmatism and his desire for survival, that he should know that the U.S. has all the capability and all the intent to really help make a nation that is a 88 million person nation not any longer be a hostage to that 86-year-old individual.